Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this new show we got going on called Turnin The Table. And really, this is just a show where I'm going to sit here and tell it like it is. We're going to go over some race results. We're going to talk about some topics, all kinds of things that we got going on here in the racing world, and give my opinion, my view on things. Now, to start this whole thing off, I want to send my condolences and my hope and wishes to those affected by the natural disaster that occurred in North Carolina there with Hurricane Florence. But there was a freak of nature that appeared in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, this freak of nature that occurred caused so much destruction here in the dirt track racing world. It is unbelievable that this occurred. Stock cars on dirt. It don't even look right. There's no other way to describe this but a freak of nature. Now, for those who didn't see the video, you don't really want to. This is kind of the closest thing to bestiality that I can see. It's just not supposed to occur. You know, we're the animals of the world. We're the lower form. So I don't know why they come and mess with us anyway. You know, so anyway, the race was won by Sheldon Creed over there. You know, Christopher Bell was in it. You had a couple of other people, but you had mainly a bunch of rich people up in there. Sheldon Creed, I've talked to the guy. He seems like he's nice and all that, but he got his ass kicked when I watched him race. A guy named Anton Hernandez kicked his ass in Tulsa at the shootout in the Lightning Sprint division. Now, what's the difference between an Anton Hernandez, which I'm not speaking for him for those out there who may want to go and say, oh my God, you agree? I'm speaking for myself. So Anton Hernandez kicks this guy's ass, but this guy's up in there in the ARCA ranks and the K&Ns and all this crap. Let me tell you what the difference is between an Anton Hernandez, or how about the hundreds of Anton Hernandezes out there that are racing on dirt tracks across this country, and a guy like Sheldon Creed. Here is the numbers that never lie about the top rides, the cost of the top rides that are capable of winning. You know, when you get into these cars, you really don't want to get into some crap on asphalt, because on asphalt the cars win races more so than the drivers. There ain't no dirt changing surfaces and all that. There was in this race, which you can put these cars on dirt, but they just don't look right. Has anyone seen that video of a dirt late model on an asphalt track? It's crossed up in there sideways, jacked sideways. It looks like it's on dirt because that's how the car drives. Now, when you look at a stock car on dirt, it doesn't look like it belongs on dirt because that's how the car drives. Besides the fact, and people want to talk about the pro levels and all that, we don't have any type of pro level in racing. We have classism in racing. So let me save that point here just for a quick second. The top rides in K&N, ARCA, Truck Series, and Xfinity. We have some prices here. So to get into a car that's capable of winning a race, that you can actually take your talent into a vehicle and display if you have talent. Because if you spend a little less money just to get into the race and you're in a subpar equipment machine and it's your first time on asphalt, you're probably going to be mid-pack. Unless it's on dirt and your name's Bobby Pierce and you almost wax their ass in front of the country. So here you go. A K&N Series vehicle, which was the race that occurred. K&N Pro West Series that was out there on the dirt track. This abomination, this freaking nature that occurred. To rent one of those cars, to get into a top ride for a season, is anywhere from $500,000 to $850,000 a year. or $10,000 for a race. ARCA. Anywhere? Well, this doesn't even have it anywhere. We actually got this number from a really good reference who had a driver that was looking for some rides. $1.2 million a year, or $30,000 a race. To get into a top truck in racing, $3 to $5 million a year, or $50,000 a race. And to get an Xfinity, oh, they'll rent those out too. Top rides, $200,000 a race. Or a mid-pack car is $100,000 a race. So what's the difference between a Hailie Deegan and a Sheldon Creed and all these guys and an Anton Hernandez or a Jason McDougal or any of these guys? I just listed it off for you. It ain't talent in this racing world, it's money. And that's the biggest problem. And some people want to say, oh, well, you got Larson. How about we go look at Larson and who is supporting him and his opportunities? You don't necessarily have to have personal money, but you definitely do have to have money somewhere in there, or as Kenny Wallace referred to it, a sugar daddy. So we're told the best are in NASCAR. And this is the problem. Here's the problem right there. The best are not in NASCAR in this racing world. But you know who knows that? The people in the racing world. And this illusion that stock car racing pushes to the general population, for those who don't know it, NASCAR only has about 5 million likes on Facebook. For those who don't know it, there's 350 million people in America. So, stock car racing works off an illusion. A lot of people sit back, and this is the problem with stock car racing being on top. I'm going to get to that here in this description that I'm about to lay out for you. Obviously, the best race car drivers in this country are not in stock car racing, and the ones on the minor leagues, like these Creeds and Deegans, are there with money. The best race car drivers are in dirt, in my opinion. In multiple classes, not even your top divisions, but in your late models, modifieds, your street stocks, factory stocks. Heck, best race car driver in the country could be in a front wheel drive machine, and he's only got, $25,000 a year to spare on it. And that's to run a low division. But stock car racing knows how the world works. And this is what I'm trying to wake everybody else out there up to. See, there's a real good judge on how many people who know how the circle track racing world works. And the real good judge is that truck race they have at Eldora. Now, see, that truck race at Eldora is strategically placed to get every single person who likes dirt track racing to watch that damn event. It happens in the middle of the week, because if it happened on a Friday or Saturday, you got all these dirt track people who would be at their local racetracks. They'd be at an outlaw race. They'd be at a touring event. They'd be at something. So they put this show on a Wednesday so that everyone in dirt, drivers, owners, everybody who is a dirt affiliate person ends up watching this race. Now, to judge how many dirt track racing fans that we actually do have in this country, you have to go ahead and look at the ratings for this event. Now, there was about 660,000 views for this race. So, what does that tell you? There's about 660,000 people in this dirt track racing thing. Once again, out of 350 million people. 660,000. Now you want to multiply that by about 1 or 2, or maybe even 3, of people who have even heard of dirt track racing at all, period, who's even seen a late model or a sprint car, or know what it is when they see it. And we'll just multiply it by, 3. So what's that? About 1.8 million people who know what dirt track racing is. That's it. 1.8 million who know what dirt track racing is out of 350 million people. Now, how many people reach, or how many people is there fans of the NFL? Just about everybody knows what football is, right? What about NBA basketball? Oh, well, about everybody knows or heard of basketball before, right? But not a lot of people's heard about this dirt track racing thing. Have they heard about stock car racing, though? Well, it's pushed to them on their mainstream medias. It's pushed to them, to the world, it's pushed to them. So they probably have heard about it. But they don't know about this dirt track racing thing. So this is where we get to the illusion that is played, which is why racing ultimately is dying. So stock car racing understands that not a lot of people know about this dirt thing. Not a lot of people know about anything about the racing world, period. There's only 5 million that are liking their Facebook page to begin with. So let me help you understand where regular people come from. And this is why dirt track racers don't have any respect. This is why our tracks are not building stands. This is why our payouts are not increasing. It's because perception is reality, as somebody once said. So stock car racing knows this. They go on to their mainstream media outlets and they are placed next to the NFL, next to the NBA, next to all these true pro levels. You know, in those sports there was a high school where everybody went and seen who could do it. Who could shoot the basketball the best in high school? Who can throw the football the best? Then they went to college. Those best were put into college. And it wasn't based on money. It was based on talent. Then the best on the college level, the best of the best, went to the pros. And in the NBA and the NFL and these other professional organizations, the best are in those organizations of those sports. When people watch the NFL, that is the best of the best in football. When people watch the NBA, that is the best of the best in basketball. There is no one out there that can whoop LeBron James's ass one-on-one. There's no one out there there's no one out there down the street that can throw a football better than Tom Brady. Or he would be in the NFL going against him. Just like LeBron, if he was good enough, if somebody was good enough to whoop up on LeBron James, they'd be in the NFL or the NBA. So stock car racing knows this. So for a regular person, you know, the 344 million people out there, 47 million, 48 million people out there that don't know about this dirt track racing world, when they place that stock car racing next to NFL and NBA, the regular world mind views that as the NFL or the NBA. In their mind, those are the greatest race car drivers in America. There's no way some guy down the street's any better or any good. There's some high school or college out there for racing, just like all these other sports I've been raised in. If this guy down the street was any good, he'd be in there. You know, they got these young guys coming in, you know, 20 some odd years old, just like all my other sports. You know, they made it. Those must have been the best in this high school, college level of racing. And they play on this illusion. They get the psychology at work. And then they play it onto our minds. They play it onto our minds by getting us to believe we are a minor league, to getting us to celebrating and worshiping these dirt gods who go over there and are the lucky, opportunistic few. And we just, you know, relegate everyone else who doesn't go and, you know, coal it out as a secondary talent. You know, Jeff Gordon set the precedent. You don't use this sprint car as a career like Wolfgang and Kinzer. You use this bitch as a stepping stone in the dirt to get to stock car racing. Now the rest of the world don't know what the hell you're talking about. What's a fucking sprint car? They don't know. All they know is what they are shown on their television. And to these regular world people, stock cars are the top. Stock cars is the NFL. The drivers in those stock cars are the greatest race car drivers in this country. And there is no way in my regular world mind that there's a guy down the street who's better than Tom Brady. But in the racing world, that is the case. In the racing world, the guy down the street is just as good as Tom Brady of racing. Kyle Busch goes down the street, we got video up, you need to see it again, jumps in a dirt late model and gets his ass destroyed. But the guy in that late model and those people in those late models, they're kicking their ass, but they are a ghost. While Kyle Busch is placed onto your mainstream media outlet as one of the greatest race car drivers in this country, he gets the attention, the fan base, and everything, the exposure, while these guys in these late models and sprint cars are just ignored. Because the regular world doesn't understand the system in play. Once again, there's only about 1.8 million people who have even heard of a sprint car late model. And there's only about 660,000 dirt fans in this country. So how does this kill racing overall? Well, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm a regular guy, you know, I love racing. I may like basketball. I may like football. You know what I'm going to do to see if I like basketball or football? I'm going to check out the pro representation of those sports. So me wanting to check out football, I'm going to watch the NFL of football. I'm going to watch the best of the best to see if I like football. So if I go to a football game for the NFL, if I go to an NFL game and it sucks, then I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to just not like the NFL. I'm all of a sudden not going to like football. I think if the NFL is boring and dumb and isn't exciting for me, I don't like football. So this is what happens in the regular world mind that doesn't understand dirt, never heard of it, never heard of all these other great racing events and great race car drivers, and they are under the stock car illusion that is in this world, and they go out there and they say, I might like racing, and they check out a stock car race. What happens? They go and watch that junk of a show compared to our dirt track races, and we all know that, and they do too. Which is why they don't want anyone to know we exist. They want us to be their minor league bitch. You go ahead and be their minor league bitch. I'm not okay with that. But when they go out there and they put on a show like they do, and their racing, even on their best day, does not compare to a late model 4 wide or sprint cars throwing sliders at 140 back and forth. No, I have no idea. But even their best race has a good 2 hours of nothing going on. It's relatively boring. But when regular world person who might like racing, they're going to go check them out to see. They're going to check out the pros of racing. And in their mind, they are. So when they suck and put on a subpar show, which most of the time they do, and even their good shows are subpar compared to the dirt racing action that goes on. Regular world people don't like racing now. They don't just judge stock cars, they judge the sport as a whole. Well, I don't like racing. Well, come on, check this dirt thing out. I've already seen the pros, man. I've already watched your best of your best, and I just don't like racing. See, stock car racing is currently representing American motorsports. And it's the stock car illusion. They currently have the illusion of the best of the best. If you're the best, you're going to be here. It's not the case. But regular person of the world doesn't know that. So when stock car racing goes out here and they represent racing and regular people check out racing for the first time, they go check them out and it sucks. They're no longer going to be a race fan. We don't got race fans now. You know, the difference between today and back in the day is back in the day you had speed worlds and all this stuff. There was no grand illusion of stock cars or just the pros of everything. You know, there was no such thing as that. There was no such thing as that. IndyCar racing was on top. Stock car racing was on top. Everybody had their own place and form of motorsport, and everyone was represented equally. The menu of racing to the regular world was more than just stock cars. And now to the regular world, the only thing that exists in racing is stock cars. And you may see an IndyCar once a year when they roll through Indianapolis. Now, we don't need to get into the split and, how that was perfectly timed in the Formula One incidents and all this stuff with Penske and the merger with the France families and we need to, if we want to go down that, we'll save that for another time. We are going to touch into that in just a second, but that is the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is we don't have race fans because racing is not fairly represented to the world. There is a current illusion that stock car racing is the pros, and they understand that. That's why they have these, quarters. A lot of people think these segments are, trying to emulate dirt. No, they're trying to emulate the NFL and NBA. They understand this illusion they have on the world. They get it. They're smart. They used Hollywood in the 90s with Jeff Gordon. I mean, this is the smart. They're very smart on manipulation, and they use money to manipulate drivers all the time to get them basically into prostitution. That's basically what occurs right now. You really don't think this is prostitution? Think about it. For all you 20-year-olds that are out there right now, or you young drivers coming up, and you hear someone like me say, let's get dirt on a big scale level and let's get these dirt track racers more recognition. The more eyes on this sport, the more people that we're going to get attracted to this sport. And the more people that are going to get involved and the more money these drivers can make. You look at the Dirt Million event, that was a fan funded style of an event. How much money could we have made, or drivers could have made there? How much more events could be made if more than 1.8 million people knew that dirt racing even existed? How many people do you show this sport and they love it? Because they've never seen it before. But for those out there who are young and they hear that and they're like, oh, but in the world that we're in, we got to go be stock cars. I want to be a Kyle Larson. I want to go up there and be able to run dirt full time, but I got to go up there and, sell my soul to make money in this racing world. I got to go do something that I don't want to do. How does that make any sense? How are we sitting back and standing by? How are we standing by this ill-righteous, immoral situation that is occurring in the dirt track race, in the racing world, period? Kyle Busch wants to beat Bubba Pollard someday. Kyle Busch doesn't even want to be up in there. He wants to be running super late models weekly. He's only doing it for money too, and he's the king of the asphalt world. At least when he goes back, he waxes their ass on asphalt. Larson, runs top 5. Finished 6th a couple weeks ago. At least Kyle Busch kicks super late model's ass when he goes back to them. Waxes their best. He doesn't even want to be up in there. You want to be Kyle Larson? You really do? You really want to be a Kyle Larson? You want to sell? You want to do something that you don't want to do to make money. You want to be a slave. You want to be a prostitute. You don't really love it. You're in there because you want to make money. It's something you don't want to be in, but you're doing it for money. In all these other sports, do you think Tom Brady's sitting back saying, man, I love to be playing basketball? I really don't like football. I want to play basketball. You think that's really occurring? Are you insane? So for all these young racers and young families trying to make it to stock car racing, all I'm saying is this. We need to expose this illusion to the world. This illusion that they are the greatest and all that is the reason dirt track racers do not get the attention or recognition. Because the regular world don't know anything. They know what they're shown. And since stock cars are on their TV right next to all these other sports, in their regular world mind, stock car racing must work like all of these other sports. So a guy down the street can't throw a football better than Tom Brady. You know, there ain't no guy, you know, in NBA D-League that's better than LeBron James. You know, that's just not what happens. So in their regular world mind, they are the greatest. And they're the one, and in America, the greatest get the attention. And that's why I'm exposing this crap, trying to give the alertness to people, because if you don't let people understand how this racing world works, and if these dirt racers don't start getting the respect, you're going to start instilling a hierarchy where only people who can afford to race are the ones in control. Which is what currently is occurring over in stock car land. And these dirt track racers are not going to be able to make more money. These dirt track racers could easily start making more money if more people knew about how great they were. If more people knew about the sport, period. They just don't even know it exists. And that's the main problem in the racing world. It's an illusion. It's a trick. And they know it, and they play it very well. Anyway, and the biggest scare for people who don't get it is that when this stock car stuff goes to dirt, it's going to start representing dirt track racing to the world. That's what's going to start happening. Because there's not too many people who have heard of sprint cars and late models, but they've heard of stock cars. Oh my God, this is dirt track racing? Our late models and sprint cars and modifieds and even our factory stocks that can wax those stock cars that are on dirt, who turn faster laps, they're not going to represent dirt track racing. It's going to be this junk. This freak of nature is going to be dirt track racing to people. And you people who want to, get stock cars on dirt, on your big stage over there, you keep doing that. You keep letting that represent. You keep letting that trump what we are already doing on dirt that deserves the attention and recognition of what those shows will even do. But it's about exposing how the racing world works, and that attacks people's status. You know what? It attacks their status. Because you know what the truth of the matter is? You can celebrate these dirt gods all you want, but here's the deal. If dirt track racing gets onto a big time level, and your weekly dirt track and regional dirt track and national dirt track racers start getting some attention and respect, it ain't no longer some big deal that you get a fan base and become a celebrity out of to go be in stock car racing. Just because you're those 1 or 2 or 3 dirt guys over there, you don't automatically become a celebrity. You're just another guy. You don't get all the sponsors. You don't get all the attention. You don't get all your giant merchandise sales if dirt track racing's on the map. Because you're not just the 1 or 2, 3 dirt guys that matter anymore. Now all these other guys do. Their status rises, therefore your status falls. And that's what some people are really scared about. Because there's some dirt drivers over there that ain't that great, but their status is so much higher because they're stock car drivers. They're celebrities in the racing world. Their status is so high. And that's what is really threatening some of the dirt people who are in stock car racing that want to kind of keep the power structure in place, because that's how they're making a living. They're making a living on their status of being a dirt guy in stock car racing. But anyway, let's get on from that topic. Abomination, freak of nature. I'm done with that. this slavery, this prostitution that occurs. We need to get dirt track racing and short track racing to the level of attention and recognition that it deserves. That way a guy can run sprint cars if he wants to and make a living racing. That way a guy can run late models if he wants to and make a living racing. Make money. I don't know how many of you are going out there and seeing how much these operations cost and then how much they're racing for. But even the top divisions and top series, you can win every single damn race all year long, and you're probably not going to come out on top without a sugar daddy, as somebody alluded to. And sometimes sugar daddy can mean sponsors or anything like that, where a head of something is backing you. In how many ways, we don't know. So, anyways, that's my ultimate goal. That's what I'm striving for. And for all you young racers out there, I think that would be a more obtainable goal, is to get this dirt track racing thing on top. And that's how you're going to get recognition. That's how you're going to get what you deserve. And you don't have to go in slavery like Larson is. I don't know what dirt track racer right now is looking at that Kyle Larson situation in NASCAR and saying, I want to go do that. Where the guy's over there, yeah, he's making some money. But that can change. Dirt can start making some money if we get more than 1 million people knowing that it exists. We can start building stands. We can start getting the attention that we deserve from local, regional businesses and corporate businesses. It doesn't have to all be corporate. But you go look at that Kyle Larson situation, and it is disgusting. The guy's doing something that he doesn't even really want to do. He likes it. He doesn't love it. He's doing it for money. Then when he tries to talk about what he loves, they tell him to shut the fuck up. He tries to bring up sprint car racing, he's, demonized. It's just interesting. Just interesting. I don't know who out there wants to be a prostitute, but I'm against it. I see it for what it is, and I think it's morally wrong. And I think a lot of dirt track racers deserve the respect that those guys get, because they're just as equally as talented and just as badass as race cars. As many people out there that put racing a stock car on another level, I think being a badass in a 900 horsepower sprint car late model, or these modifieds or factory stocks, I think being a badass in those vehicles is just as respectable and just as worth mentioning as driving those pieces of junk sedans around a 1.5 mile asphalt track. I think it takes just as much, even more skill to drive a 900 horsepower sprint car late model as it does a 750, 800 horsepower sedan around an asphalt track, where, at least in the dirt racing, you can kind of make a difference with the driver, and on asphalt, the car kind of drives you. Anyway, on to some race results. We're going to get away from that subject. All you young racers, I would aspire to make change within the racing world, help educate people how it works, help them understand the money involved. The racing world is not based on talent, it is based on income. And the Tom Brady's and LeBron Jameses of the racing world are more than likely down the street at your local dirt track. And more people need to know that and understand the system of racing and how it works, and we need to break this stock car illusion. So let's move on into some results here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into some results around the racing world and talk about them as we go along. So NASCAR had a race in Las Vegas. Not the dirt track abomination freak of nature situation, but an actual NASCAR Monsters Energy Series, whatever, who's ever given them a bunch of money. Their sugar daddy at the moment gave them some money to, they're having a race. And Brad Keselowski, I think, won. The dirt god of Kyle Trickelson finished second. Rowdy finished seventh, for those keeping up with that battle. And Martin Truex Jr. finished third. Now, I've been asked to give my opinion on this Furniture Row situation, and I've been trying to stay silent. Because the more you research this situation, the more you start seeing the hierarchy in motorsports. For those who don't understand it, this France thing is a family-owned operation. They're over there in NASCAR. And if you think these team owners and everything like that are not their buddies, and they're not just sitting around a table and they're controlling how things go, and if you can't understand how this stock car thing is basically the Hollywood of the racing world, and the silver screen movies are these cup rides, and then how they want young racers in there all the time, Don't even want to talk about that, really. Don't want to think about the things that could be going on there. And then you see what happened with the Furniture Row situation. So Furniture Row was kind of doing it on their own, and they were getting parts through JGR. They've had a lot of power in this thing. The main TRD, you see, it's team owners that help, control things. But then when you get down to it, it's manufacturers that run stuff. And if teams don't perform at high levels, then manufacturers might move to other teams. See, Furniture Row Racing started working through JGR, who is a direct person there with TRD. And Furniture Row Racing started kicking their ass and winning some championships and could possibly win the championship this year. Well, once Furniture Row Racing did that, JGR jacked up the prices on them. Because he started challenging the power structure. He also might have started challenging the corporate funding from TRD. That's just speculation, but that's how things work. So basically, Furniture Row Racing challenged the power structure. They can't say this on their television shows. You saw one driver on one of their talk shows try to bring this subject up, and he was shot down and basically told to be quiet about it. But that's what happened with Furniture Row. He threatened the power structure, the hierarchy. He started to take over. Why don't we go ask Jeremy Mayfield what happens when you start talking about the power structures? We really want to talk about that? We could talk about that. But this situation that occurred right here was very similar. You could take people out multiple ways, especially when you control the fuels of their organization. So that's basically what happened there with Furniture Row. Furniture Row started threatening JGR. Martin Truex Jr. and his crew chief basically transferred over now to JGR. That was the deal. They wanted their crew chief and the driver. And who got them? JGR. Who supplied the parts that kept Furniture Row running up front? JGR. When Furniture Row started kicking JGR's ass on the racetrack and challenging their corporate support, possibly, then Furniture Row got the prices jacked up by JGR so they could be shut down, and that JGR could take Martin Truex Jr. and his crew chief. That's what it looked like to me happened. That's what happened over there. That's what happens when you challenge the power structure that does exist. I would say monopoly, but I don't want to get in trouble. They all kind of hold their place in the NASCAR world over there. And if you think that this family-owned business, with these family-owned cars, are not sitting around dictating how this world works, this racing world works, you're losing your fucking mind. Because that's what happens. And this Furniture Row Racing situation is a great example. Moving on to some more results. An event that's passed us by now a few weeks, but that's the BC 39. Of course, Brady Bacon won that amazing event. Funny thing about this, and this is a great example of what's actually going on. In my opinion, dirt racing is being suppressed. We are a threat to NASCAR. They don't want people to know about us. Because if more people start seeing sprint cars and late models, they may not want to watch stock cars anymore. So anyway, but an amazing event, and there was plenty of great reviews. But there was an article put out. And there was a question asked if anyone had heard negative comments about the BC 39, which this was a revolutionary event, put on a big stage, received a lot of publicity. And the guy replied and said, just one NASCAR person. He said that they were getting too much publicity. We got an interesting situation that did occur at this BC 39. One of the greatest race car drivers in America came down. He came down from the high levels and landed on dirt track land. And he got in a midget. Conor Daly. Oh, he's here. I have nothing against Conor Daly. Of course, he was in the media for some other incidents that I don't really want to talk about too much. But anyways, he got destroyed. Just absolutely obliterated. As anticipated. I made a post about it. He replied. He's just doing it for fun, you know. It was a vacation for him. And I'm thinking to myself, I've already talked about when did these sprint cars and midgets become developmental race cars and not racing machines. And now who turned these dirt cars into vacational items? When you want to go fishing, you go run these midgets. We're fishing, we're a camping trip. That's what we are. That's what they want us to be, is a damn camping trip. But as I explained to Conor Daly, who actually replied and all that, was we need more people like you to come down here. Come down, come fly down from your high horses over there. Strap in one of these midgets or sprint cars and get your ass whooped. And then we need to take that result and show the damn world. Come look at this shit. He got his ass whopping down, just destroyed and obliterated, similar to Kyle Busch got obliterated in a late model at Williams Grove. And similar to how all of those guys, except the exception of Larson or Bell or some good dirt guys, if they came down here and ran against our guys, they get their asses just obliterated. Destroyed. Their Tom Brady's come to our town and get their asses whooped behind the wheel of a race car. But stock car racing don't want the world to know that. They don't want them to know. Trust me, they do not want them to know. It's bad publicity. You think if LeBron James went down to the local courts and got his ass just waxed, that they want people to know it? Or say LeBron James went to another organization, a competing organization in the basketball arena and got his ass waxed? Do you think they want people to know about that? They don't want people to know about that. They're working on the illusion that they are the greatest. That's what gets them their attention. They're the best. That's why they receive the best attention. But we need more of those guys to show up and jump in dirt cars. And as much as you're thinking about it, of being some camping trip or boating trip, there's going to be at least me and a few others who are going to expose the illusion. Who are going to point out, hey, he flew on down. He came down to our level. And we waxed his ass. And guess what? We got another opportunity coming at the Chili Bowl. Jeffrey Earnhardt has entered the Chili Bowl. For those who don't know it, Jeffrey Earnhardt is entering the 2019 Chili Bowl. I don't know if this is breaking news for most of you. But Jeffrey Earnhardt's coming in. And, you know, Jeffrey Earnhardt's story is a very interesting story. And we talk about families and everything running the racing world. But he's going to get his ass waxed too. And I hate to say that about Jeffrey Earnhardt. And if you pull out of the Chili Bowl event because you watch this video, or any of those people who are scared to come down and race dirt because they don't want some guy pointing it out when they get their asses waxed. Because these dirt guys who are just as good as you get no fucking attention or respect unless they get killed. Then they're just paying their condolences. Fuck your condolences. I'm here to get these guys the respect and the payments that they deserve. Attention equals money, and the racing world is fucked up right now because only one type of motorsport is getting the attention. Or the publicity. You're mad that we got some publicity? Fuck you! You've been getting all the publicity. And that's why everyone else is striving and barely getting by because of your ass. And your hierarchy that you got on this motorsports world. Kiss my ass. Publicity. So anyways, Jeffrey Earnhardt. See you in January. And speaking of that, King of the Wheel still on board, ladies and gentlemen. King of the Wheel. Don't know if anyone knows it, where I, matched 30 of the greatest stock car drivers against 30 local regional drivers in dirt cars. Oh, it's still a go if y'all want some. But they don't want none. They don't want to get exposed. Although it would really help them out. They need to build some names. You know, a little war for dirt versus NASCAR would actually maybe help y'all out, because y'all's most popular driver right now is Lightning McQueen. You know, that's why Earnhardt still got a ride, because he's probably the only name that people still fucking remember. Y'all ain't got no stars. Y'all don't got nobody. Lightning McQueen's y'all's most popular driver. That's it. Everybody's heard of NASCAR, though. Everybody's heard of your family. Everybody's heard of that brand. Anyways. Let's get on to some real racing. Let's get on to some more results here. USAC, Hob Hustler, up there. Haubstadt, I went up to the Tri-State Speedway and filmed an episode of Inside the Dirt, and it was an amazing episode, amazing racing facility. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not went to Tri-State Speedway, you are missing out. It is an amazing racing facility. The customer service that the track provides to the racers is just unmatched. I've never seen a track literally take a car to a race shop and weld pieces back on so they can race. I've never seen that. And not charging $45 an hour for welding service. But anyway, the Hob Stone Hustler, great event. Kent Smith, who actually was involved in the episode of Inside the Dirt, the Davis Brothers Racing team, he started on pole, led a lap. CJ Leary came home in second, and Jason McDougal came home in third. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you've been watching the dirt track racing world, especially this non-wing scene there in Indiana, but Jason McDougal is one guy who has really impressed me. You want to talk about some of the, or one of the greatest race car drivers in this country. I'm not sure about the ride that he's in, what kind of quality it is, but you watch Jason McDougal take a dirt car around a racetrack, ladies and gentlemen, and the car control that this guy is displaying is beyond me. I mean, it is really, really amazing to watch this guy take a car around a track. And he's definitely one of the up-and-comers in the dirt racing world. I believe this is a type of guy, this guy, a few other names that need to be pushed to the country. As here's one of the greatest in America. You want a young gun who actually is deserving of the attention, who hasn't bought his way into a label of young gun, or is a family member. Jason McDougal is that guy. And he just landed a ride with the Chris Dyson Racing number 9 Silver Crown machine. And he's going to be running that machine here in the next race that they do have. So that's it. The Hob Stone Hustler. I want to congratulate Kevin Thomas Jr. Late Model World. We had some great racing action there up at the Knoxville Raceway, the Late Model Knoxville Nationals. Of course, somebody here from the Texas region, Tyler Erb, picked up a win on prelim night. But in the main event, it was a duel early between Pearson and Shepard. Shepard with the lead. Bloomquist, though, moved up into second. Very early. Owens to third. Owens gets around Bloomquist on a restart. Owens around Shepard for the lead. Bobby Pierce, though, coming from 22nd up to third early in a hurry. Pierce had the car to win, honestly, in my opinion. He caught Owens, but made some mistakes. Seemed to me like the car was a little tight when it was in the heavy. It was obviously hooked up when he was on that top groove. And it seemed like when it did hook up, it could hook up a little bit too much and kind of push that nose over. And that seemed to end up what happened with Bobby Pierce. Ended up smacking the wall, battling there. On the restart, Owen checks out. Pierce loses some ground. Ends up smacking a bottled up Don O'Neill there. O'Neill gets real loose off the floor. Owens ends up checking out. Ends up winning the 15th annual Late Model Knoxville Nationals. For the first time in his career, O'Neill second, Richards third, and Pierce drives back up to 7th after having to go to the back after that incident there with O'Neill. On to All-Star Racing action, ladies and gentlemen. All-Stars were in action in New York, Crocodile Dundee, New York, Friday at the Outlaw Speedway. From the video I saw, some very tight, decently banked short track action. Ryan Smith was the early leader. Reutzel and Macedo got into a good battle for second. Reutzel ended up tracking down Smith. Macedo ends up getting around Reutzel, as well as getting by Smith with just 2 to go, and ends up getting the win. Smith second and Reutzel third. And let me just stop right there and talk about this Aaron Reutzel situation. Now, Aaron Reutzel, I think, is a great race car driver. But this is a great example for everybody up there in 410 land and the PA area and up in that region, and, you know, just puts 410 racing on another level. You know, Aaron Reutzel is a guy who ran ASCS events and ran in the Texas area. And he is another example of, even in the dirt racing world, of money and opportunity. Of course, he got hooked up there with Bachman. But Aaron Reutzel is a guy, I was a big fan of him. There was a situation that occurred a few years ago where I kind of lost some respect for the guy. Not going to go into details on that. He's moved past that, and he's doing a real good job of representing, in my opinion, the talent that is on the local, regional, and national levels of 360 sprint car racing, 305 sprint car racing. Because fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Reutzel was getting beaten on local levels, regional ASCS events, national ASCS events. You know, if we're going to use any kind of college judgmental system on, if this guy gets beat by this guy, then he can beat that guy. If this guy goes and beats that guy, then that must mean this guy is better than that guy too. Then Aaron Reutzel is a great example, and this is somebody who drove around Kyle Larson a few months ago. Aaron Reutzel did. And like I said, great race car driver, but he's actually representing how great all these other race car drivers are that can beat him. They just don't have the money and opportunity to be racing 410 sprint cars. You know, Kenny Wallace was talking about how much late model racing costs. Go look at how much 410 sprint car racing costs. You know, and it's a lot more than 360 sprint cars and a lot more than 305 sprint car racing. You know, a lot of people think these 305 guys in the Race Saver division aren't that great, but I mean, they're driving them as hard as you can drive them. You know, the main reason a modified guy isn't in a late model is because of money. The main reason a sport mod guy ain't in a modified is because of money. The main reason a factory stock guy ain't in a sport modified or a late model or a modified is money. The main reason a guy's in a 305 instead of a 410 is money. Now, how good are these guys? Aaron Reutzel is a great example of how great these guys actually are. Aaron Reutzel is a dude who can get beat by local guys. I've seen him get beat by local guys, ASCS drivers kicking his ass. But Aaron Reutzel is just an example of how great local racers are, how great regional racers are, and even guys like on the ASCS National Tour are. And he was a top driver in there, but he didn't win every single race and destroy him. And he's not doing that up there, but he's running top 5 very consistently. He's doing some damage. He beat Kyle Larson. And when I see those results, I'm looking at a guy who's representing what these other guys could do with the same money and opportunity that he is allotted. Anyway, on to Saturday night's event there with the All-Star event at Selinsgrove. Brian Brown and Ryan Smith dice it up to open the race. Smith with the advantage. And then Freddie Raymer on the move. Really a guy who's impressing me from the outside looking in on the PA area racing scene. Runs down Brian Brown, blows his wings completely off. Then he ended up running down Ryan Smith, a good half-mile style battle. You know, they had the short track action at Outlaw Speedway, then this half-mile racing action on Selinsgrove. You know, Raymer low, Smith high, and Ryan Smith ends up pulling away and taking the win. Of course, going second there, Freddie Raymer. Now we'll move on into some modified racing action. You had the annual World Nationals, $10,000 to win at the Marshalltown Speedway in Iowa. You had Richie Gustin check out early in the lead. Grabowski, though, challenges from 22nd, already up there challenging for the lead. Carter ends up tracking down Grabowski for second. Ward gets involved late in the race, started 23rd in that event, but Richie Gustin picks up the win. Grabowski goes second, Carter third. The big story, though, or the main attention of the weekend, was the Kyle Stricker, Kyle Brown incident that occurred in heat racing. Round 1 of heat racing, they do a 2-round heat racing event style action up there at this event. In round 1, Stricker puts Brown out of the park off of turn number 2, kind of a racing incident. Brown comes to a stop, able to get back into the top 5. Round 2, though, Brown puts Stricker out of the park. Then Stricker goes for the kill shot, Eminem style, and just obliterates the side of Kyle Brown. Some people are saying justified. Some people are saying 2 wrongs don't make a right, but this was 3. My thoughts on the situation is, just like I was talking about earlier, these guys are trying to live up to a status. Okay, guys? These guys are trying to live up to a status that they have. I had an incident with Bell last year at the shootout where I called him out, where he was basically just running guys over because he's Bell. And I think that kind of happened here. You know, Kyle Strickler's a big name, you know, and he has a name to live up to. And when you think like that, you kind of view everyone else as below you, that's when you are somewhat open to pulling off such an incident. I don't know. Kyle Strickler, I mean, I think it's a status move. He's Kyle Strickler. You're Kyle Brown. I'm the big national name. You're a big name. Yeah, okay. I'm Kyle Strickler. Get out of my way. You don't push me around like that. Who knows? Y'all can think about it how y'all want to. Anyways, that does it for results, ladies and gentlemen. We feel like we covered the noteworthy organizations, tracks, and events. If you think that your local track or event has something that's worth being noted here on the show weekly, go ahead and send that to our page, and we'll look it over, see if we can get it involved here in the show. Final topic, and that's what the dirt here, ladies and gentlemen. Things we see on social media that catches our eye. Kenny Wallace going full-time dirt racing. He did my Facebook Live. It was very interesting. Some calling him a cherry picker for not going to late model racing. He seemed to get onto that topic. Let's talk about the talent. So you had a top 5 talent in the truck series, you know, and we've already went down the road in this show here talking about how talent actually works. These guys in modifieds are badass. The only reason these modified racers are not in late models is money. The only reason sport mod guys are not in modifieds or late models is money. The only reason the 305 guys and the 305 and not a 410 is money. And that's what's going on here. The talent is not subpar or cherry pickish in modifieds. But anyway, you had the top 5 talent in trucks. Justin Haley came down and ran some modifieds. He came and ran a modified, couldn't even make it out of the B main at Tri-City. I actually had a boot on the ground, a very well-known modified racer in the area, messaged me and let me know about this. He also messaged me and let me know how Justin Haley was a dick to him. Because he's just coming down. He's above us. He's coming down to us. Fuck all these lower form people. Fuck you, B-main bitch. Here's some of the greatest race car drivers in the country right here. Ricky Thornton, Rodney Sanders, Mike Harrison, Mike McKinney. They're in modifieds. They're not in late models because they don't have money. Why is Kenny Wallace in modifieds? Well, I've already explained in this whole damn show how the world of economic racing and dirt is destroyed because there's only about 1.8 million people that actually know it exists. You want to fix the racing world? We got to fix this awareness issue. And then Kenny Wallace can go running what he wants when this dirt racing thing actually starts to turn a profit. And it's going to start turning a profit. Once this thing gets more recognition and this system is exposed to the country, and they start looking at your local dirt track racer with some respect as a bad motherfucker instead of somebody who's a recreational player, when they start understanding that the guy down the street is a Tom Brady, you know, who can whoop their ass. These modified guys' names that I just listed off can whoop anybody's ass in racing right now. In a modified. Put them in a modified, let's see what they can do. I put my money on all 4 of these guys. Bring their ass down. And there's a slew of those guys. There's a Ricky Thornton Jr., Rodney Sanders, and Mike Harrison, and Mike McKinney at every single local dirt track. These are just the ones who can travel around a little bit, who can afford to do that. There's some guys that can't afford to travel at all, but they're just as much of a badass. And then once again, there's a guy in a sport mod or a factory stock or something along those lines who is just as badass in that vehicle that can't afford to get in a modified. So that's just unbelievable. And let's not even talk about how a modified is possibly harder to drive. You know, you got all that horsepower and just a little bitty tire. Late model racing, you can almost set your way up to the front. If you got the R&D in that late model, it's going to hook up. It's going to go to the front. Now, R&D is very big in a modified, but that right foot matters a little bit more when you can't hook up all that horsepower with that little bitty tire. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Turning the Table. My name's Chaz Thompson. We got some great things going on with Inslide the Dirt. My Patreon account, if you want to help support the show, support everything we got going on here, patreon.com/DirtTrackChaz. We'll have a link in there. Inslide the Dirt, we got plenty of episodes coming up. We're going to several different events. Larry Killian Memorial we got scheduled to come up here in just a few short weeks. And good things are going. If you want your event or anything going on, if you have an event that you may want us to come out to, send us a message here on the page, and we'll definitely look and try to make something happen. But anyways, that's going to do it for myself, Chaz Thompson. This was Turning the Table here on Dirt Track Save Mine.